Welcome to the Bakersfield City Council meeting. This television broadcast is brought to you by your local cable companies, the County of Kern, and the City of Bakersfield. You can watch the rebroadcast of this meeting Saturday at 7 p.m., Sunday at 10 a.m., and the following Wednesday at 7 p.m. You can download the agenda for this meeting at www.bakersfieldcity.us. Presiding over this evening's meeting, the Honorable Mayor Harvey L. Hall.
Good evening and welcome everyone. It's my pleasure to call the City Council meeting of November the 18th, 2015 to order and ask the City Clerk to please call the roll.
Mayor Hall.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hanson. Councilmember Rivera.
Here.
Councilmember Maxwell.
Here.
Councilmember Weir.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
I'm here.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Parlier.
Here.
At this time, I would like us all to stand for the invocation by Pastor Steve Yeary of the Family Community Fellowship. And please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance by Paxton Iger, kindergarten student at Endeavor Elementary School.
Would you join me in bowing in prayer? Compassionate God, we are grateful tonight that you are our creator and also our sustainer, a light and our fortress. You are our wisdom and our strength, and we ask for your guiding hand tonight to lead us through this meeting. May this council approach their task with wisdom, and may each member approach the other with great respect, and may the conduct always of all of our lives create an environment in our community for cooperation and for kindness. Tonight, we pause to ask your blessing upon the people of France, upon Lebanon and Nigeria, and so many other nations that are dealing with the horrific aftermath of the terrorist attacks within their borders. Protect those who are working tirelessly to meet the needs of those that are most impacted by these events, and bless with comfort those who mourn the loss of their loved ones. You've set the standard by which we are to order our lives, to do what is just, to love mercy, and to walk humbly before you. We look to you for the grace tonight and the enablement to live up to this noble call. Thank you for helping this council to accomplish their work as those with a heart to fulfill the responsibilities of their election by this community to the best of their abilities. And we ask these things in your powerful name. Amen.
Salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have his sister here on the 9th of December for our next meeting, and she'll be giving the invocation. Madam Clerk, next item.
Under presentations, item A, a presentation by Mayor Hall of certificates of appreciation to 8 Bakersfield Sister City Youth Ambassadors that represented our city during a visit to Busan City, Republic of South Korea during the summer of 2015. Okay,
let me read in my comments first before we get to that. Before we proceed, I request that all cellular telephones and communication devices be silenced. Pursuant to City Council policy, council members are prohibited from sending or receiving electronic communications during the meeting, and we request the same from our audience. For safety reasons and as a courtesy to others, no signs are allowed in the council chambers. Also, please be courteous in the use of any still cameras and video equipment. Audience applause is allowed during the presentation portion of our meeting, but is not permitted at any other time during the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation. I'd like to acknowledge the Bakersfield College Political Science class who have joined us this evening to have the opportunity to learn about city government and how the City Council does its work. I encourage you always to come back when it's possible for you to join us. Now we will do the presentations. In September of 2006, we established a sister city relationship with Busan, South Korea. And last summer, these students that I'm going to recognize this evening traveled to Busan as ambassadors of our Sister City Youth Program with the Bakersfield Sister City Project Corporation. And they participated in the 15th Annual International Homestay Program hosted by our good friends in Busan, South Korea. And those dates were August 7th through August 14th, 2015. I'll be presenting each one of the students a certificate of recognition for their time spent in South Korea. First, I'd like to recognize Teresa Marie Hansen. I work fast. The next student I'd like to recognize is Amy Catherine Neck. Hannah Elizabeth Larson. Emma Abigail McNellis. Celia Marie Rodriguez. Joshua James Aubin. Kaylee Mia Falk. Okay, Kylie. Now it's Kylie. How's that? All right. Nevin John Matthew. Here, come over here on this side. Okay, all of you, if you'd like to stand up for a moment, we'll get another picture with all of us together, okay? Okay. This Youth Ambassador program is fairly new to our Sister City program, and we're meeting regularly with new students in the community to engage them in getting a part and being a part of what we're doing here with this Youth Ambassador program. So we expect in the future that we'll have many more recognitions of our young people who express an interest in serving as ambassadors of the Bakersfield Sister City Project Corporation. Six months ago, it would have taken me an extra 3 minutes to get back here. And I'm among the healing, and today I'm without pain, so I feel really good. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Public statements.
At this time, we will receive public statements. All statements are given a 3-minute time limit, 15 minutes per side per subject matter. If you have written comments that are longer than your verbal statement, provide it to the city clerk, who will then provide the necessary copies to the city council. If you are here to speak on hearing item 10A, this is not the time for you to speak. Members of the audience are asked to avoid engaging in any behavior that disrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting. Also, please be courteous and refrain from applause as a courtesy to others and to limit interference to our audio and television broadcast. The City Council is very interested and concerned with your issues. Due to the public notice requirements of the Brown Act, the City Council cannot take action on an item when it is not on the agenda. The City Council can, however, refer your matter to committee or request that staff contact you. Madam Clerk, please call the first public speaker.
Mayor, we have 4 speakers this evening. The first is Curtis Bingham regarding positive on response on city.
Good evening. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and the board, I'd just like to say my name is Curtis James Bingham, Sr., Street Evangelist for our Lord and Savior, God Almighty Jesus Christ. And I want to take this time to acknowledge, always acknowledging God we trust. I feel and know that's one reason why you guys are so successful, because you're not ashamed to recognize where the real power lies. And I also like to take this time and say, Mr. Mayor, if I came up here with a sad face, people would wonder what's wrong. But if I have a happy face, people say, guy's feeling pretty good. Well, what we just want to say to you, Honorable Mayor, you are like the smile of Bakersfield, you know? So when you look at the Bakersfield being happy, having a smile, you represent that. I'll never say anything that many won't back up. I just want to thank you in the name of the Lord for carrying yourself the way you carry yourself. I also like to say, when a person tells you, I love you, I care about you, we looking out for you, we really standing in there for you, we want to see you do well, we want to see your family be okay and your children. Well, when people say that, that really means something. So what I'm saying is, when we look at the response time that Bakersfield Finance has given us with Chief Williamson at the helm, it's really a great thing to see they have picked up the response time, because response time means, I love you, I care about you, we looking out for you, we want you to be safe. That's what it means. We're going to try to get there faster before that husband beats that wife, or these gang members shoot up too many people, or this guy robs this bank, you know, this guy speeding on the street. That's what response time really means. We're responding, we're going to try to get there. So the whole city of Bakersfield could thank you all, could thank Bakersfield Finance, because you got together, you agreed to put the plan together, to give them opportunity, willing to put their lives on the line to get there quicker, you know, to get incidents that are taking place that can cause great tragedies in cities. And so you guys have done that. And so sometimes the Bible says, they will reward you evil when you do good. And so you guys have done good by allowing Bakersfield Finance what they need to respond faster to get out there for the people. And you got to remember this, if you have 5 incidents, you can get there fast. If you have 10 incidents, it's going to take a little bit longer. You guys have taken on a challenge that's basically out of your control, because there's no way on the face of this earth you know who's going to do a crime. So it might be 10 today, 30 next week, you know, 40 this day. So it's a beautiful thing to see you willing to take the challenge to try to get our response time faster, because you don't know how many crimes it's going to be. Only our Lord and Savior know the exact number. So the Lord would just like to thank you guys for doing what you're doing and blessing the chief to have his men get out there, honestly putting their lives on the line to protect us. So we pray, whether it's new cars, helicopters, more ammunition, whatever it is they need, please consider them first, because we can build everything we want to build and have new things, but if you can't keep them safe, it's not worth it. So really tonight, the Lord, I just want to say thank you guys. You're making history, everything you do, and when you read your portfolio and see you was a part of putting up more response time to get there to the people faster, that's something you can really be proud of. So we want to thank the council members, and we want to thank our chief, mighty man, himself for standing up, doing what he's doing. Humble at the same time. That's what makes him great. The Lord said you humble yourself, he'll rise you up. So that's why we're such a great success, such a great chief. And I pray God bless all you guys for standing in there, giving us a great city, because you've seen what happened last night in one of the other little cities. They couldn't even hold a meeting, short of officers and everything. So we bless, and so I say in the name of Jesus, thank you. Amen.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public speaker.
Billy Nix regarding street concern to the city.
Good evening. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Mr. Holland, council members. My name is Billy Nix. I'm the Vice President of a Homeowners Association for seniors. We are unique to any other place in town. We are a mobile home park. However, we own our own property, so we're part of Bakersfield already. We have one little street in the side of it. We're trying to do away with the Homeowners Association. I've been to every office I think that you guys have invented, from Truxton all the way down to L Street and further. But my question to you, or if somebody could help me, and I know that Mr. Rivera, I believe, is our council person, is that how do I proceed from here to give our little street back to you guys? We have 60 mobile homes there. They're all been paying city taxes for 40 years. And we've been taking care of that little street ourselves, and we charged $20 HOA, and we have no facilities except for the little street that we all commonly use. And I've already gone to a lawyer, and the lawyer says he can get the papers from Sacramento to disperse it, and everything's a go. Every place I go, they help me with it a little bit. But the last big obstacle, and I didn't realize it was such a big obstacle, is that we need to give the street back to you guys, if y'all will accept it. It's a real tiny little circle with 60 mobile homes in it. Can you please tell me what, I'm nervous as I can be, I do apologize.
Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for coming. Could you do me a favor and leave your phone number, and what's the name of the street?
Chester Village, it's Chester, 3601 South Chester. Okay. It's a mobile home park between Plants and White Lane. It's the last one on the right. We don't look like any other places because we own our own property, so we keep up the appearances like if we were on Panama or White Lane or wherever. And I've been down to the trash people, and they say, well, you're already the city, you already pay your taxes for that. So I bought bins for, so that's taken care of. I've been to PG&E. There's 3 street lights which will be discontinued. The homeowners will have to indeed hook up their own lights if they want lights in front of their property. And I've been to the water company, because once a year we have to have them to come out to check our water to make sure it's okay, $180. When this HOA was formed 40 years ago, apparently the people that formed it, I don't know what they were thinking about, but we should have never become a homeowners association. Now, I'm probably one of the younger people in Chester Village. I'm 75. The other ones are on crutches and wheelchairs and everything else, and we just want to, you know, when we were you guys' age, we were working, but now we're old folks, and I just don't know what to do. And, you know, I've been to, I can show you all the places I've been to.
Well, here, no need, because we'll solve and answer the question. Can you just make sure you leave your phone number and your name?
I already gave it to the young lady over there.
Which young lady?
The one right there.
Of course, our young city attorney.
I mean,
perfect. So then I will reach out to you tomorrow.
Okay, if you would, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you for letting me take some of your time. I do apologize. I didn't know where else to go because everybody refers me to another office. And I went to the street maintenance people. Oh, no, you have to go to the other people. I've been to every office. I promise you, you have a big city, if you don't realize that, with all your offices. You have like 40 or 50 different offices, and I've got to know all the secretaries real well. So anyway, I apologize if I'm out of bounds.
No, we'll handle this, so I'll speak to you tomorrow, okay?
I would appreciate it. Thank you
you
very much, Council.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public speaker.
Dennis Fox regarding drought versus water shortage.
Good evening. Please identify yourself and proceed.
Yeah. Good morning, Mayor, or good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm Dennis Fox, and I've already given you a little flyer on backup on what I was going to talk about. In it, you notice there's a cartoon. The cartoon is from a newspaper in Northern California, and it assumes that the people involved, everybody's going to know what the people are about. And here, nobody seems to know it, which is probably shows a lack of, or spoon feeding on the part of our local media. And one of the other things that's not being mentioned locally is that we're going to get a little extra tax on the property owners of Bakersfield. It's called Zone of Benefit number 7. And it will go to continue subsidies for a bad situation for the whole county's water deliveries. And it will probably end up, we'll get less. And then there's going to be some tunnels which will not have water coming out of them. And it will have lawsuits coming out of them, so we can see less water rather than more water. We'll have less delivery, less storage, less state production, but more studies. And that is a problem. Also, we have less water coming out of the city wells because water is being mined adjacent to the city. And Merced, the same people who are mining it up there are mining it here. In Merced, they prohibited water mining for export and had it enforced by the health department. It kind of has a nexus to it. So I think one of the things we want to mention is, and think about, is less water and a less assured water supply, the effect on future development in this. Either legally, or we're going to end up with, you'll end up with lawsuits saying so. So there is a reality sometimes between legalisms and reality, but in this matter, it's with the water, it isn't, necessarily reality. So I thank you and wish you well this evening. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the next public speaker.
The last speaker, Mayor, is Bruce Rapp regarding code violation at Comanche and 178.
Good evening. Please identify yourself and proceed.
My name is Bruce Rapp. I've lived in Bakersfield all my life, and that this year is 70 years worth, so that's the good news and the bad news. I want to talk about the man-made mountain on the, I guess it's the southeast corner of Comanche and 178 that's been there since Solera went in, and it still sits there, and it's one of the worst eyesores in the town. And under Bakersfield Beautiful, I don't think it fits. And I think it's time that somebody, and I assume it needs to be the city, because from everything I can gather, this is an absolute code violation. I know that couldn't exist in my front yard, I'll put it that way. So how many here actually know and have seen what I'm talking about? One, two, is there anybody who hasn't? Okay, so everybody's been out to our side of town. I don't know who owns that. I don't want to know who owns it. My understanding is the person owns 3 different lots, corners out there, which are at some point in time are going to be quite valuable. I've gotten over the last 4 or 5 years several stories as to why and how it isn't removed. But if I'm not mistaken, and I hope somebody could answer this, is this not a code violation? Is it not illegal? I mean, someone respond to that, I hope. No one wants to take it on. Okay.
Are you finished with your statement? Because
No, I'm not. I mean, there's a lot of things you could say about it. I mean, having lived in the Northeast all my adult life, I grew up in the west side of town. One of the things that occurs to me is that this pile of dirt, and there's another one on down the road that's not quite so bad, and lots of them out there, they're just eyesores. And these would last about a half-life of 10 seconds if they were out by in the southwest and what's Seven Oaks and so on and so forth, in my opinion. I think the city needs to, and I know it's expensive, but you have attorneys and so forth. I think you need to move that pile, make the owner move that pile. And I know there's been a lot of complaints about it from different people, and it's too expensive to move, it's too this. Well, I suggest that legally there's ways, I think, of getting it moved, and you can lien that land, and I think you'll get your money back at some point. But I'm tired of looking at it. And I think it's something that time is, you know, the guy's had 8 years or more to do something about it. I mean, I lost money in the crash. Nobody came back and piled on me or cut me a break, so I think it's time to do something about it. And I hope you take it back on and put, you know, the Public Works on it and, you know, really address it. I mean, everybody lives in Solera, I'm sure, is up in arms over this thing, or probably given up.
Mr. Rapp, your 3 minutes have expired.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Weir.
Thank you, and thank you for coming tonight. I can tell you I've been on the council for 10 years, and for 10 years I've been trying to get rid of that. It's a problem. The other pile is a problem also. I've talked to code enforcement about it numerous times, and we just can't seem to get there. So,
is there not some legal actions that can't be taken here? I mean, that's my thinking. If I would put a lien on, I mean, some way the city could deal with it. And I think the valued property is there that down the road you get your money back, if not more.
So we have your phone number on the card that you submitted? 871? No. Do we have it on the card? Okay. Could we have code enforcement contact Mr. Rapp and tell him the long story that we've been through on this? And I mean, if we can work out a solution, that would be a prize. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Next item, Mayor, is consent calendar items 8A through 8Z for approval.
Councilmember Weir, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Does any council member wish to abstain on any item? Seeing none, does any council member wish to pull any item for separate consideration? Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. I'd like to take item X off.
Any others?
Yeah, I'd like to take item 8Y.
Okay, any others? Seeing no others, I move approval of items 8A through 8Z with the exception of 8X and 8Y.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved with Vice Mayor Hansen absent.
Councilmember Smith on 8X, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the contract for Bill Park Green's playground equipment, and I just wanted to thank the staff and Recreation Parks Department. We went out and met with the community, and they had a lot of ideas about what they wanted, and we've incorporated those ideas, and now we're going to go out and build it. So I thank you, and I would move to approve the item.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved with Vice Mayor Hansen absent.
Councilmember Maxwell on item 8, Y as in yellow, please.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. This is item 8Y is a consideration for the fountain replacement at Centennial Plaza. We got a bid. Well, first of all, the Community Services looked at this, put together a really nice plan, was given some guidelines on what the consultants thought it would cost. The cost came in way higher than what they had anticipated. So we've gotten some new bids because we changed the project a bit. Now, I had asked that this be taken from the consent calendar and put into old or deferred business, and I realized that since we already have this posted, it would be impossible to change this into a different item. So the city manager left it as item 8Y and asked that I go ahead and just pull it off the consent calendar. They are prepared to give us a very short presentation. So, Mr. Fiddler?
Honorable Mayor and council members, a brief second while we get the presentation brought up. Before you will see what was actually presented to council back in October 22nd, 2014. Some of the highlights of that feature, it had some bubbling features with a center larger water feature in the middle, and then a cascading waterfall that goes over a concrete surface into a lower pool. We then went out to bid in June 30th, 2015 with this design that was very similar to what was originally provided in the conceptual drawings to council. Some of the changes were a result of going through the staff that would actually be maintaining the fountain, and there were some changes made to kind of also enhance it a little bit more, because that was some of the comments that came out of council's recommendations from the previous slide. One of the elements that was significantly changed in this bid design was the way the water cascaded over from the upper pool to the lower pool. With the smooth sheeting of water over the previous slide, when the water was not in operation, it would leave a scaling effect on the concrete. So we went with a different type of water feature or overflow that was kind of terraced. So when the water was off, it didn't have this scaling effect of that smooth surface over the top of the concrete. This bid, as Councilmember Maxwell indicated, came in quite expensive, and when we reached out to the contractors who bid the project, they indicated that this was one of the terraced steps that were over that edge was one of the issues that caused the bids to be higher than anticipated. There was a lot of form work that took place to create those little steps in the fountain, and they also indicated that the water features that we had, we increased it to where it required a significant amount of pumps. The amount of pumps to drive all the perimeter jets and the bubblers in the middle and the large fountain, the bubblers around the perimeter and the large fountain in the middle. And then also to have a nice continuous flow of water over the surface of those troughs. So when we went back out to rebid, we worked with the designers, we took comments from the contractors who bid the project and came up with this scenario. Unfortunately, I did not have a rendering available of the final drawing. But I can kind of describe what this new fountain is. It does have the same effect as the other two fountain renderings. What we're showing up here in the upper left corner is we're still occupying the same footprint of the original fountain. Same outside ring, same inside ring, same heights. What we did scale back is instead of having that terraced stepping, we now have what they call scuppers, which are, I believe, roughly 1.5 to 2 foot wide overflow areas that spill into the lower basin. It does not cascade over the whole top of the perimeter ring of that upper basin. So the scuppers allowed a reduction in the amount of water that we had to pump up into that upper pool because it eliminated some of the cascading water. And looking at this element, it does provide a very nice cascade of sheet flow, centralized locations. I think there's 24 perimeter locations around that will sheet flow the water over the top of those scuppers. In addition, we reduced the amount of perimeter jets. The original perimeter jet had 24, and when I'm talking about perimeter jets, those are the ones that are on the outside wall shooting back into the middle of the fountain. We reduced that from 24 to 12. we had in the in the middle of the ring, there were 12 bubblers that shoot up in range from 2 to 3 feet high. That was reduced to 6, and the center fountain remained the same. Another feature of the past fountain had LED lights in it with changing colors. This new fountain has white LED lights. It won't have the capacity to change colors in it. And there was a reduction in the amount of changing lights as well. Originally was 27. I believe it was reduced down to 15. So those were the major changes in regards to the design. Again, trying to still achieve the same visual effect, same footprint, and also reducing the amount of water usage going over the top of the perimeter.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. I just had a couple of questions. I remember the original design being the one where you had the walkway in between, and we were going to have a fountain on either side. Did we get rid of that at some point? Because I know that was the one that the committee had pushed forward, and I believe that we did see that, didn't we?
Councilmember Maxwell, we did in the Community Services Committee, we did have 2 or 3 options. The option was the entire circle, one that was proposed to council,
okay,
which I showed in the first slide.
Okay.
So the committee did select the full diameter fountain.
Very good, very good. You know, I guess I have a problem with a couple things. The original engineer's estimate on what we originally had put together was estimated at $235,000. They were, what, $400,000 off or more?
From the first bid, that is correct.
Okay, now we've got a second engineer's estimate at $260,000, and they're $120,000 off.
Correct.
So I'm not sure that we're getting real good information from the engineer's estimates. My second point is that $384,000, that's just the upfront cost. There will be maintenance costs for this year in and year out. And you know, at this point, we don't have a real good history with fountains and their expense. At some point, we throw up our hands and say, gosh, this is just too expensive to maintain. And I'm wondering if that $384,000 wouldn't be spent on something else a little bit better, and maybe we could come up with a different idea. Maybe we don't need a fountain. We, after all, do already have a fountain in front of Centennial Plaza. It may not be in that corner position, but it certainly is a fountain already there. I would entertain from the rest of the council that maybe we really should consider doing something else. I don't know, I happen to be working at the Mark restaurant, and we put together a beautiful park next door. It has a little fountain, but for the most part, it's a really nice walking area, and kind of has a park atmosphere to it. I'm just wondering if maybe some of my colleagues would consider that maybe it's not smart to put another fountain there. So I'd like to hear from my colleagues before we move forward with this.
Councilmember Maxwell, on the first point that you made, the fountain which has been in place there will have experienced much higher cost. This was purposefully designed to reduce some of the excess maintenance costs that we experienced on that. Number of jets, a number of features, the fact that it was used for play for children and so on, all caused it to cost more than what we anticipate. So we do anticipate the maintenance cost to go down with this.
Okay, I should have said that because I realize that this is a much simpler fountain that we're talking about, and it would have less cost, but it would have still ongoing costs to some extent. And as I say, if the upfront cost is almost $400,000, it's certainly possible that we could be using that money for something else, and instead put maybe a nice tree or something in that area, something that maybe represents Bakersfield. How about a nice oil derrick? Farm equipment? No. So anyway, I'd like to hear from my colleagues.
Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually suggest a statue of the Ward 2 council member in its place.
The birds need something to poop on, huh?
Indeed. So a few questions. You know, I sat on community services when this originally came to us. I didn't realize it had been October 22nd. That is now over a year since we first talked about this. And I think a few things have happened, and a few things stand out to me now. Chief among them, I don't have fountains in Ward 1. You know, and with all due respect to the Ward 2 council member, Ward 2, downtown Bakersfield, does get a lot of this type of stuff, which I think is fantastic. I spend a lot of time in downtown, and I think that is a worthy investment. Downtown is the heart of Bakersfield. However, when I see the price tag, and the price tag is $384,000 and $384,000, you know, I think there are probably things that might benefit Ward 1 that could cost a fraction of that and might be a better investment. I would remind my colleagues that a few short months ago I had asked for an arson investigator, something that I thought was and still is desperately needed in Bakersfield. And that was something I tabled because we had some negative sales tax news, and you know, I was told the money was not there. I'd rather spend $384,000 over 2 years to pay for an arson investigator and potentially explore what Councilmember Maxwell is talking about with potentially doing some different things in front of Centennial Plaza. You know, and I don't think I need to be the one to remind everyone that we're in the middle of a drought, and we are having a conversation right now about spending $384,000 on a fountain which will utilize water in the city of Bakersfield. That just doesn't seem to add up to me. You know, I see some more blinking lights, so I'll indulge my colleagues and see what they have to say. But at this point, you know, I would not be in favor of moving forward. I'd like to go back to the drawing board, see my colleagues, Councilmember Smith and Sullivan, one more time at a Community Services Committee meeting, and potentially chart out some different options. As this was really the only option we were really presented with, I'd like to see some other things. Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, staff, for working towards something that is more affordable and still has the same feel and design of the original. The height of the center fountain, the height is the same?
Councilmember Smith, that's correct, the same height.
Yeah, on all of them. So I'm excited about it. Every time I go by there, I think it's a negative image for the city. I think a fountain is what needs to be there. I think that that's the way it was designed and the way it should stay, and it's a good-looking fountain. And as far as water, the water is recycled?
That is correct. It's recirculated.
So I will make the motion to adopt this fountain and move forward with it. Thank you.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I am the chairman of the Community Services Committee. We did spend quite a bit of time on that. Appreciate Terry's suggestion, his concern, but of course the water is recycled. You know, we certainly wouldn't have an ongoing 24-hour working, operating fountain without reusing the water, and that's part of the reason why it's no longer for human play for children of all ages. So it has to be something spectacular, you know, on that corner, one of the main corners. You know, we're working on getting lighting there just to make it, you know, of course, Rabobank is one of the main attractions in our city. you know, we want it to be welcoming, all safe and all of that. So, you know, nothing is like a water amenity and fountain. And we originally, one of the two options was with the walkway in between the circle, but then the jets were much lower. And so we in our discussion, we wanted it to be as high and noticeable and magnificent as possible. And so that's when we decided to make it, you know, not have the walkway through the center so it could have the height. And so it really is going to be very, very nice. And it shouldn't be either or. Willie mentioned the arson investigator, which that's important, and I'm sure we'll, you know, I would certainly be in favor of that when it's possible, but I don't think it has anything to do with the, you know, with the finishing what is going to be most magnificent down on that corner of Rabobank. So, you know, it's going to be good. It's on our agenda tonight. We discussed it. We worked very hard on that issue because it's such an important issue for our city. And it was certainly in very fairly and appropriately within the guidelines of the Community Services Committee. So we feel good about the final decision that was made. It is, things are usually always more expensive. If nothing else, because things continue to get more expensive as time goes on. So to put it off until next year, it's probably not going to be any less. And I appreciate staff coming up with something that is more, you know, just more reasonable. And I'm sure quite a bit of time was put on that, not to do away from how sensational it is going to be. But I'm in favor, and if obviously it's been worked out how it can be financed. So I support it. Thank you.
Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we got a little distracted here. It doesn't matter if you're using recycled water. You're using water in a fountain in the middle of a drought. If there's anything to be said about perception, that means I think we just don't get it. But regardless, my issue is with the cost. $384,000 is a lot for a fountain. So I think that money could be spent better elsewhere. I think it could be spent on life and safety issues, and I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we table this, or rather not accept this bid for this particular project, and table this issue until it is deemed appropriate. Thank you.
Madam City Attorney, can you offer some guidance for me here?
Mayor, council members, as we typically do, we take the last motion first, and so the motion to table, and that's also a priority motion, comes first.
Okay, you have a motion to have this item tabled. Please cast your votes.
The motion ties with 3 noes by Councilmember Weir and Smith and Sullivan, and Vice Mayor Hansen is absent.
I'm clerk to notice that I voted no.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor has voted no.
So we then go to the next motion on the table, which is by Councilmember Smith, as I have it, to move forward with staff's recommendation.
Councilmember Maxwell.
I think that what I've heard as far as an argument is concerned is one that needs to be rethought. Whether we have a fountain or not in front of Centennial Plaza doesn't make us any better or any worse. To not have that fountain ever have been there, I don't know that we'd be talking about a fountain to put there. And I think that you have to start from square one. Square one is, let's pretend there's no fountain there, there's never been a fountain there. What is the best use? What could we put there that is a representation of Bakersfield that would look nice, but not cost $400,000? And I still advocate that there are other options out there that we should be considering before we just blindly go forward with putting a $400,000 fountain there. And I would hope that the chair of the Community Services Committee would reconsider that at that meeting there really wasn't any discussion of any other possibility. And that her committee, I think, should take a little bit more time to ferret out maybe some more options that we can look at, things that would be permanent and not costly. And I would ask that in the next vote that she takes the time to reconsider, and at the end of the next vote, hopefully it works, that we are going to not accept this bid, and that she would entertain a motion then to put it back in Community Services and take the time that's necessary to look at all options, not a single option and then variables on it. So thank you.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Which she, that's a joke. That's a joke. Oh, goodness. Well, you know, I think we originally came up with the fountain because with there being no restrictions, that seemed to be what would be best there. And, you know, if it would not have been something, I mean, at that time, it was celebrating the centennial of our city back in 1998, I believe, is when it first opened. So we had no, you know, no holes were barred, and we just wanted to be good. You know, I don't believe in doing something. This is a long-term project for long-term benefit. This is not a time to skimp. Yes, it certainly does represent it. It's an expensive improvement. It is an expensive investment, but it is an investment, and you know, why not? Obviously, staff has redesigned the project to make it more practical, more affordable, but yet within the area of being doable and of being doable. So I am personally not in favor of, you know, to rethink this. It would be to not have the fountain, and I think I'm in favor of it. I think it would be something delightful year-round, and they have certainly taken into consideration the maintenance, and we're older and wiser this time around as far as something that's going to be the least problematic. So I'm just sold on the benefits of having the fountain as to that corner, very important corner in front of our arena, and I don't think there's anything that would be that could take the place of what is planned. I appreciate, as I said before, staff refiguring it to make it doable. So I'm willing to bite the bullet, and staff has worked out a way for us to get that fountain in there, and I'm in favor of going forward. Thank you.
You have a motion on this item by Councilmember Smith. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved with Vice Mayor Hansen absent, Council Members Rivera and Maxwell voting no.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Hearings, Mayor.
Before I open the public hearing, I wish to state the presentation time policy. Each side will be allowed 15 minutes. It is 15 minutes for all speakers. Therefore, it is important that you identify yourself and make your statement quickly so that others may speak. We will hear statements from those opposed to the staff recommendation. We will then hear from those who wish to speak in favor of the staff recommendation. If there is testimony on both sides, each side will be allowed a 5-minute rebuttal period. You will notice a clock on the wall behind me, which indicates 15 minutes. Please step to the microphone and identify yourself. At 14 minutes, a yellow light will come on. At the end of 15 minutes, a red light will flash, indicating that your time is up and to quickly end your statement. You may pose questions during your statement, but they will not be answered until the public hearing is closed. If you have written comments that are longer than your verbal statement, provide it to the city clerk, who will then provide the necessary copies to the city council. Again, please be courteous to others who wish to speak. Unless there is an approval by the majority of the city council, there is a strict 15-minute time limit for all those in favor or in opposition to the staff's recommendation. So please be precise and do not repeat the remarks of previous speakers. Madam Clerk, please read the first public hearing item.
Item A, public hearing to consider resolution ordering the vacation of the public utility easement located between 18th Street and 19th Street and R Street and V Street.
Mr. Fiddler, please.
Honorable Mayor and council members, tonight the City of Bakersfield Community Development Department has requested a public utility easement to be vacated to facilitate the construction of the Mill Creek Village. The public utility easement, all utilities within the public utility easement have been abandoned and removed, so this is just the formal process to facilitate the construction of the Mill Creek Village.
At this time, I'll open the public hearing on this item and ask if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to the staff recommendation. Persons wishing to speak in opposition to the staff recommendation. Seeing none, I will now ask if there are persons in the audience who wish to speak in favor of the staff recommendation. Persons wishing to speak in favor of the staff recommendation. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing item on this item and return to council for comment and action. Councilmember Maxwell.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. This being in Ward 2, I will go ahead and make a motion that the staff recommendation be accepted.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. Vice Mayor Hansen absent.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Council and Mayor statements.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had wanted to say thank you to Golden Empire Transit. Item 8M was an agreement with GET for the allocation of $500,000 of Transportation Development Act funds to help us do sidewalks and curb and improvements near bus stops, and I think that's a great thing. So I just want to thank them and working cooperatively with us. Thank you.
Councilmember Maxwell.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. I had a couple of things that I wanted to look at. I'm wondering, on our website, do we have kind of a section that makes suggestions on how we can do abatement for rats and other type of vermins in the city area? No?
Councilmember Maxwell, rats, I do not believe so.
Well, I've gotten
there's an agency that.
Well, I've gotten several calls recently about problems with rats in the city, and I know in the downtown area we have lots of them. I'm just wondering if on our website we can maybe make an inclusion as to what can be done on an individual basis, and I'm talking about the ones that are up in the trees, the ones that are walking along the wires for either telephone or electrical. So I think that would be helpful for our citizens. The other thing I'd like to do is I recently have had also issues with the alleys in the downtown area. And I know that the city's position on it is the alleys are the responsibility of homeowners and of business owners. In today's Bakersfield, there are very few alleys that are created when a new housing project goes in. Most people do use the front of their property to get in and out of their garage. They also use the front of their property to have trash trucks take the trash away. However, there was a time when Bakersfield had nothing but alleys that were created. I have been told, again, that alleys are really the responsibility of homeowners as well as the businesses. But I'm not sure that a homeowner knows how to go about having a whole alley resurfaced. I think the expectation of everyone is that the city is going to do that. The city was what required it in the first place, and quite frankly, the city uses these big things called trash trucks that go down those alleys, and I would have to guess that most of the damage that are done to those alleys are done by trash trucks because they create the most amount of weight that is being borne by those alleys. So I would like to refer to Legend Lit. The issue of alleys, I'd like the city to actually identify this as a issue and make some decisions as to what we're going to move forward on with the maintenance of these alleys, whether we're going to establish some criteria by which citizens can band together, or whether the city really should be the ones that are taking care of those alleys. They are constructed of the same kind of materials that the city seems to have a lot of, and so I do want to make that referral. The other referral I want to make is that there is a burned out house on G Street at about 24th. It's on the north side. We've got people that are kind of opening up and living there. It looks like this house has been pretty much abandoned, and I would like to ask the Public Works, or not the Public Works, but I'd like to ask that code enforcement really make an effort on this, and this house needs to be pulled down or reconstructed. They need to do something with it. It's been sitting there for way too long. So that's all I have, and thank you very much.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'm not the last one speaking tonight, am I? No, I'm not. Anyway, I want to sincerely wish everyone a wonderful Thanksgiving. It's a wonderful time of year, and when we sit down with our family and friends, how blessed we are when we can have a wonderful dinner and just enjoy all that this wonderful country has to offer to us, and hopefully will always be the greatest country in the world with everyone's effort. One nation under God, certainly, as in our pledge, and our country was based upon God's values, and the framers did strongly have a faith in God. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and we are blessed to be an American. Thank you, Americans. Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask staff, is it true that we expect homeowners to pave the alley behind them, a public alley?
Councilmember Smith, no, we don't expect the homeowners to pave the alley.
We would not allow them to pave the alley.
Correct.
The city's responsible for the maintenance of the alley.
We maintain the alley. We fill the potholes. We put small overlays over the top of the alleyways. Correct.
Yeah, it's public right-of-way, just like the street's public right-of-way the city maintains.
Correct.
Thank you.
Considering that there's no further council comments, it was nice that Councilmember Sullivan prompted her Thanksgiving message, and I will just say, as the mayor of California's 9th largest city, I'm very thankful. I'm very blessed with the outstanding council members that I serve with, along with the many staff members that attend these council meetings and the good work that they do as a result of the referrals that they're given. But I think that we have a lot to be thankful for in this community, and it all sits in this room. If there's no further business, we stand adjourned.